Good day, future educators. We know that you are completely aware and knowledgeable about the SBM or school-based management, but allow us to provide a short recap for formality.
School-based management is a decentralized management initiative by developing power or authority to school heads, teachers, parents, and students. It is a strategy to improve education by transferring significant decision-making authority from the DepEd, central offices, regional offices, and also to the individual school.
SBM is in keeping with the principle of subsidiarity, which state that it is the people at the lowest level who will know best their problems and so are in the best position to address the same, and provide principals, teachers, students, and parents greater control over the education process by giving them responsibility for decision about the budget, personnel, and the curriculum.
We have successfully conducted this interview thanks to the efforts of Ms. Mendoza and Ms. Baldonado, as well as their family members who have kindly consented in entertaining our invitation. Every step of the process is done with compliance to the health and safety protocols. So brace yourselves and be prepared on hearing about the teacher's standpoint about school-based management, as well as some advices for us, the teachers of the future.
Hi, I am Thea Francesca M. Mendoza, a first-year Bachelor in Secondary Education student from Laguna State Polytechnic University, together with Ma'am Ria Trinidad, Master Teacher 1 from San Isidro National High School, SDO Antipolo.
Hello.
Hi, I am Lucy Baldonado, a first-year Bachelor in Secondary Education student from Laguna State Polytechnic University, together with Dr. Ricardo T. Bagarinao, Dean of the University of the Philippines, Open Universities, Faculty of Education.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
First and foremost, let us explore your journey as a teacher. So, how far have you been working in educational industry?
I have been teaching for 16 years in public school.
Did you have a previous job or career before being a teacher?
Yes, I was a quality controller in a sewing company somewhere in Taytay before I became a teacher.
Hello, sir. First and foremost, let us explore your journey as a teacher. So how long have you been working in the educational industry?
Well, I think it's more than 20 years.
20 years. So, did you have a previous job or career before being a teacher?
No, since I graduated last 1994, I already teach in the tertiary education.
Please describe what is your leadership style.
So I was a grade level coordinator for 7 years, and 4 years I have been the department chairman of science department. So I allow my teachers to use their creativity, their experiences, their skills to meet their own goals as a teacher.
Please describe what is your leadership style.
Well, I usually had this consultative approach, and I don't want to make judgment on my own. I want my colleagues in the faculty to also participate in the decision-making process, although I have to lead, no? Especially in terms of instruction, research, and public service, because those are the three functions that we perform in the faculty. But then again, I think the ideas of our colleagues are as important as ours. So I made it a point na I have to open the decision-making process to everyone, not only to the faculty, members of the faculty, but also to the admin staff and even to the research staff of the faculty. So that's the way I lead the faculty. And I want to make sure that all the decisions made in the faculty is a collective ideas coming from everyone.
How do you deal with the challenges and how do you resolve that?
Okay, so first thing to do is to make a plan so that you can identify the strength, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threat to make your plan to make your plan successful.
How do you deal with the challenges and how do you resolve that?
When it comes to challenges, usually we talk them about in the faculty. Just what I have said a while ago, we usually look at these challenges as opportunities to uh, be united as one faculty, and also an opportunity where the innovative ideas of my colleagues would also be brought up. And in resolving these challenges, usually we look at, for instance, the need, to address those challenges. If it requires some resources, we need to identify them, what resources are required to address those challenges. If it needs collaborations, we also identify who should be collaborated in order to address those challenges. And the way we usually approach in addressing these challenges, we look at the opportunities outside and inside, and we also look at our weaknesses and also the strength, so that we would be able to appropriately address these challenges given the resources that we have, as well as the approaches or the existing human forces, the workforce. Because we know in the academic landscape, usually in the academic endeavors, we usually have to consider the stakeholders, outside of the faculty, because we believe that having connections with these stakeholders would somehow provide us the way on how we're going to approach the problems, because we consider them as important sources of information as well as important sources of resources, so that again we would be able to consider, we would be able to address those problems that we have in the faculty, as well as creating opportunities for our people to have somehow create or establish linkage outside. Collaborations in the academic environment is very important, because we know that the resources of the university is very limited, just like LSPU, especially that we are governed by the guidelines and policies of the government. So we cannot simply put resources in order to address yung problems of the faculty. Kaya we need to have collaborations outside, okay? Especially if the challenges that we have in the faculty require some financial or funds, so that they will be able to address. And also, our stakeholders are important human resource actually. For instance, we have our alumni. We can tap them in order to address some instructional problems, course development, and so on and so forth. So I think one way of addressing those things would be through collaborations.
Or what do you think is your greatest achievement as a teacher?
Being a master teacher is really tasky. However, I think that is my greatest accomplishment as of now.
So far, what do you think is your greatest accomplishment as a professor?
I think in terms of, just like what I have said a while ago, we perform usually three functions: instruction, research, and public service. So in terms of performance, we are being evaluated based on these three functions. In terms of instruction, maybe the greatest achievement that I have is I was able to produce doctoral graduates. Okay, so I'm advising some doctoral students in the faculty, and also coming up with some development in terms of learning materials that are useful for not only for our courses, but as resources for other teachers. In terms of research, I was able to publish several articles for peer review journals, and also some book chapters, no, that were being published not only in the Philippines but outside as well. Okay. In terms of public service, we were able to come up with some projects that somehow develop the teaching and research skills of not only of the higher education teachers, but also the basic education teachers. So those are the things that I really consider as the greatest achievement that I have as a professor.
Are you planning on pursuing masteral and doctoral degrees?
I already earned 9 units in philosophy of education, major in educational management.
What is the reason behind pursuing doctoral degrees?
Maybe the primary reason that I had during the time that I took my PhD is advancement in knowledge and also in skills. And secondly, I would like to enhance my collaborations and network. As what I have said a while ago, collaborations and networking is very important, especially if you are in the academy. Okay. Not only in terms of instruction, but also in terms of research, because you would be able to have a wider source of information if you are doing some research. And if you have that wider source of information, at least you would be able to have different perspectives on the topic that you're going to research on. So if you would be pursuing PhD, you would be meeting people from different parts of the country, different parts of the world, and different disciplines. No? And if you have an interdisciplinary perspective on something, I think that would be a good perspective, because at least you would be able to widen your knowledge. For instance, if you talk about climate change, if you have an interdisciplinary framework of climate change, you would be able to know the economic impacts of climate change, the natural scientists or the biological impact, ecological impact, or even at the household level, you would be able to have those information if you have an interdisciplinary perspective. And you could only have that if you have collaborations with other experts in different disciplines. So basically, those are the two: advancement of knowledge and skills, and also enhancing the collaborations. Okay.
To proceed with the main topic, what is your opinion about the school-based management?
So it is a DepEd trust that decentralizes the decision making from central office to individual school.
To proceed with the main topic, what is your opinion about school-based management?
Well, it would depend maybe on how it is being implemented. Because again, I would suppose, even if it is school-based management approach, I think it would still be beneficial to all components, or to all entities of the school, if you would open the school to some consultative approach. So the school-based management may be effective for some of the issues and challenges of the schools, but there might be some other challenges that need to be dealt with in terms of collaborations and consultations. Okay. Well, at present, we have that approach, I think, in the basic education, wherein it's the entire school that uh, that is being involved, no, in the management. Unfortunately, I think the process now is top down, where the higher ups of the school are the one that somehow provides the direction of the school. But I would like to consider uh, revising the approach of SBM to something that is consultative, wherein the direction of the school should be identified or should be planned by all entities of the school, including the teachers, not only the higher ups of the school. So there should be a kind of venue wherein all employees of the school are given the proper recognition, especially in terms of their contribution to the management of such school. Hindi lang siya yung not the top-down approach na it's only the officials who would be coming up with a framework or plan for the school, but it should also consider yung what we call as the bottom up. So it should be a combination of top-down, the officials to the lowest ranking of the school, but it should also have the bottom up, wherein those at the lower level of the management should be given some voices at the higher ups, so that they would be able to combine the suggestions at the lower at the plans of the higher. There should be a point where they would be integrating all these plans. And I suppose if this SBM would be done in that way, I think it would be more holistic and it would be more doable, and everyone in the school would be able to own up those plans, because those plans are coming from each one, from everyone in the school.
Is the legal basis of school-based management is enough for the education system to give the quality education to students?
Yes, of course. All the school plans are based on the context of the school. So therefore, the goal of education, which is to give quality instruction for the students, are being met.
Is the legal basis of school-based management is enough for the education system to give the quality education to students?
Well, I think it would be a strong basis for such an approach, but I think it should also consider some other factors, because we know, I think everything, when it is being grounded on some legal framework, I think that would somehow strengthen whatever approach, whatever strategy you're going to implement. But in the implementation of such legal basis, there must be some considerations of other factors. For instance, funds, for instance, how much should be given to a particular school in order to have that school being developed according to the mission and vision of that school. And some other resources, for instance, the workforce of that school. So yeah, the legal basis could be a strong foundation for such an approach, but the implementation of that should consider other factors, so that SBM would be effectively implemented in whatever school that it should be implemented.
In your perspective, are you and your school able to fulfill the role and function of the school heads in school-based management?
So collaboration is the key. So we are a team from the school principal, head teachers, and to the teachers. So as a teacher, I make sure that the student learn. For the students at risk, I do necessary actions such as home visitation, and then I do intervention for them to continue education.
In your perspective, are you and your school able to fulfill the roles and function of the school heads in school-based management?
Yeah, I think so. If I'm going to use the framework that I have said a while ago, I think based on the achievements that we have, based on the things that we acquired throughout the years, I think we were able to have that. For instance, as what I have said again a while ago, the approach should be consultative, although you should have to look at the entire school, the capacity of that school, the strengths and weaknesses, challenges and opportunities surrounding that school. I think all these things can become more effective if everyone is being involved, or being engaged, not only in terms of the planning process, but even in the implementation of these plans, that everyone were able to or was able to develop over time. And based on our assessment, based on my personal assessment, I think we were able to do that, given the things that we were able to accomplish for maybe 5 years now. Our faculty, we plan together and we implement together those plans, and we were able to get some funds for those plans. And I think, I think it's not only my achievement, but it's really the achievement of the entire faculty.
Last question. What advice can you give to a student who want to be a teacher or a school head that is experiencing struggles and difficulties in their college career?
Focus on your dream. So you will encounter challenges, that's normal. So you just have to learn how to cope up with challenges or difficulties in life. So one at a time, do not rush. I mean, you will learn. At the same time, you need to enjoy your life.
And that's end our interview today. Thank you, Ma'am Ria. It's our pleasure to have you.
It's my pleasure, Thea.
Last question. What advices can you give to a student who wants to be a teacher or a school head that is experiencing struggles and difficulties in their college career?
Well, just relax, sit down, and enjoy your life. Actually, the way I approach the management, even in my career, I usually consider the day-to-day things that happen in my life, and I learn, I need to learn something from those things, okay? And I also try to connect these things with what is happening outside of my life. So I think the best way to approach, for instance, when you are still studying, is to look at the things that you are learning from school and how you're going to apply this one in your practical life. Okay? And in that way, you would be able to bridge the gap between the theory and that of the practice. And it is usually in the practice that you will learn a lot. Okay, your experiences, those theories that you have learned inside a classroom, sooner or later you will just forget about them. Okay, but you would be able to remember those theories if you would be able to apply them, okay, in your day-to-day life. And from there, whatever learnings that you have, okay, you would be able now to establish or build up a strategy that somehow you think is a combination of what you learn inside the classroom and what you learn from your experience. And from there, you would be able to have the practical side and the theoretical side of managing a school. If you want to become school heads, for instance, sometimes yung mga school heads natin are very theoretical. They would just look at yung I call this one as the rigid way of doing things. No? They have this policy, they have these guidelines, no? And they would just follow those guidelines and policies. Where in fact, if you would try to look at the practical ways of doing things, you need to be flexible. No? Though you have these guidelines, but those guidelines can be somehow implemented in a manner that is parang in a flexible way, in a manner wherein everyone is being benefited. Though, for instance, in my case, there is no way that we can somehow add people to the faculty, no? Because we don't have items, okay? But since we have these guidelines that we can hire lecturers, okay, who are not full-time workers in the faculty, so we try to top that guidelines in order to add more workforce to the faculty. Otherwise, if you would just stick on the no item policy, no, of the university, then your teachers would be overloaded in terms of teaching units, no, in terms of research and so on and so forth. And if your people would be overburdened, definitely that would not be beneficial to the institution. Your institution would collapse dahil pagod na yung mga tao, and so on and so forth. So that is why I think if you would be able to mix your experiences with what you have learned in the university or inside the classroom, that could somehow provide you a better perspective on how you're going to manage things. Okay, and based on experience, usually the people inside the institution are more they are looking for the practical ways of doing things, not necessarily on the theoretical, no? So because if you would just focus on theories, ito na yung sinabi ng theory, eh. Yeah. So if you just stick to the theory, you cannot do any other things, okay? But if you would put your experience, no, on how you apply that particular theory, you would be able to find ways, no, on how to deal things inside the institution. Kaya for me, especially for those who are also aiming for management level, no, in their career in the education, I would suggest that you would consider your experience while you are still studying and your experience during the time that you have your first work, and also your experience outside of all those things. Combine them together and you will be able to come up with a better strategy in managing your institution.
That's the end of our interview today. Thank you, Dr. Ricardo T. Bagarinao. It's our pleasure to have you.